Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube storytelling channel. This is Hua. I welcome all of the new subscribers and the new listeners, and I also appreciate those of you who've been with me from the beginning. This is Lycanthrope, our dark tale of Everett and Harlow's past and present when the alpha male rises to uphold the Molly honor and find his true mate. I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
To be honest, I don't think about you. To be honest, I got better things to do. To be honest, I don't care that we're over. Been fine since you told me you don't love me anymore. To be honest, I like sleeping alone. Yeah, I'm totally okay on my own. I don't even need your arms around me. I don't need you to tell me it's gonna be alright, my love. You think I'm lying to myself, but the truth is I don't need you. 'Cause I'm one in a million, and that means I'll find a better you someday. To be honest, I don't miss you.
Everett. The mansion was quiet, an odd state to find it at the hour it was. Normally, servants were around making sure things were in order. The curtains were down, the lights were dimmed, and the sense of no one around left me in a state of wonder. My footsteps were loud, echoing across the wooden floor as I searched for the sight of anyone. The smell of a faint pine entered my nose, and I stopped, suddenly feeling the hair on my neck rise. When I turned around, the reason for the quietness appeared before me, and I felt my heart race. Standing before me was Riker, my younger brother, who had gone rogue so many years ago. He disappeared, leaving the family honor to trash, and now here he was, looking as if he belonged. His smirk was evil as he walked with a slow stance to where I stood, my eyes not quite really believing it was him. One dark strand hung over his eye, a wickedness I knew existed only in him seemed to dance around him, and I felt my inside turn to ash. There wasn't anything good about his return, and I felt this time I was going to fight the biggest battle of my life. "Everett," he said with a sneer, "you've lacked your job as heir to this manor. Look at how sad and boring it has become. What are you doing here? You left, and the manor finally saw light. What brings you back?" Laughing, Riker crossed his arms, his muscles almost ripping his white shirt. He let out a long breath as if he was exhausted and shrugged. "Am I not allowed to return home?" I walked toward him, remembering what he'd done. "Your actions caused the death of both our parents. The Molly honor was destroyed because of you. I spent the last 20 years bringing it back to light." He laughed and clapped his hands. "Well done, big brother. You truly are the spitting image of father." He was always listening to others, forgetting that he was used and abused by humans. The Molly honor was not destroyed by me, Everett. It was forgotten by the likes of you. He touched his lips and smiled. "You have no idea what a human tastes like, do you?" "I'm not an animal like you." "Wrong!" Riker shouted as his eyes darkened. "You are just as much a beast as me. You just won't admit it. We're not human, brother. We're meant to extinct the human race and take over. But you're so stupid in believing that we can live together that you'd rather make amends and bend over backwards to something that isn't even there. How can you do this to yourself? How can you live with yourself knowing what you're doing every single day?" He shook a finger at me. "You are not truly welcomed in the world, not when your true self takes over and you shift. It is only when we make them bleed and cower that we can take over the world." Shaking my head, I replied, "The world is too big to be ruled alone, even for you, Riker." "Now there you're wrong, Everett. It's never too big. Join me. Join me now or become my enemy." I took a deep breath, remembering the blood of my parents as I held them when they gave up their like and light to prove themselves honorable in front of the royal lineage. All because my own brother had begun feeding on humans, something we promised to never do again, even if our ancestors had done it before. But what Riker did caused the demise of our family name, and he stood here, proud and arrogant of his actions, as if he had done nothing wrong. "You are no longer the brother I once honored," I whispered. He smiled. "And you are and will now become my #1 enemy. The moment you find your mate and rise, I will be there, waiting to devour her until she's nothing but a pile of bones." Laughing, he turned and left as I felt my body react with such anger that I felt the heat enter my lungs. I dropped to the ground, my knees nearly cracking open the wooden floor as I took deep breaths. With Riker on the loose again, I had to put together a meeting with the Royal Lineage Committee. There was no time, and if Riker was here, it meant he'd probably already killed a few. It wasn't always this way between us. We used to know love and honored each other. Back then, before he went rogue and against the Royal Lineage, we were close. Our parents loved us equally, wanting me to take the honor once my father came down as alpha male of the Mali lineage. But little did I know that Riker had been feeding on humans and had become addicted to the flesh we had agreed to never devour. Humans were a contract we agreed a long time ago to never destroy. We had raw meat bought in from butchers and kept hidden locks and chains if we suddenly began to crave the human flesh. It wasn't the choice to turn to, and before my parents gave up their light, it was to find Riker and bring him to the committee. But my father already knew it would never happen without an ugly war, so instead he decided to hand everything over to me before my time and released himself and my mother. It was the only way to save our Mali honor. The darkened barroom where I kept all the raw meat was cold and held a bloody smell. The chains I kept in there to keep me from doing something I shouldn't were still hung the same way I kept it. I heard movement behind me and saw the small white fabric that had been left out when the door closed. I walked over and heard a muffled cry as I opened it. There, my servants were locked together with fear in their eyes, crammed like sardines in a can. "It's me, Everett." "Lord Everett," came the small voice of Charlene, the young daughter of Lily and Frank. She had tears in her eyes as she helped her parents out, and the three looked at me with uncertainty on their pale faces. "Lord Everett, we didn't know what to do, and we came here to hide when Lord Riker came unannounced," Charlene said. Lily and Frank, the two servants who had been in our family for 20 years, stared at me with a fear that made my blood run cold. They knew the family history with Riker. Their daughter Charlene had once been a desire for Riker, and they knew what could happen if he had returned. "He's away right now, but there's no telling what could happen. I want you three out of here. Go hide at my cabin in the north for now. Don't come back until I call for you," I said. "Lord Everett, running won't solve the problem. You know he'll come after us easier that way. Let us stay. Perhaps with you around us he won't come as easily as he wishes to. If you present yourself to the committee and tell them of his appearance, perhaps they can help assist you in keeping him from the public," Frank said. I let out a deep breath and sank against the wall. My head was spinning, and I was near the end of my wits. Why did he return? Since my parents' death almost 20 years ago, he'd fallen off the face of the earth. I thought he had exiled himself. "I can't risk it," I whispered. "It's too much for me to be responsible for." "I am not without my means of protection, Lord Everett," Frank said. "I will take precautions and handle what I can." "Lord Everett, my father is right. You can't handle all of this by yourself. If anything, I believe Lord Riker is expecting you to send us away," Charlene said as she stepped forward. Her gentle eyes were full of tears, yet she spoke with such bravery. "Please, let us stay." I released my breath. "All right, but the moment something is wrong, I want you gone." It always happens when I'm half asleep, half awake. I can't tell what is going on, but I know that I'm not at home somewhere I'm familiar with. It's somewhere very far away, and I'm gliding on air, it seems, and I feel a threat that heightens against me. But before I can even wake or sleep, I can smell her. It's a fragrance that weakens the deepest part of my soul, feeling the hunger that has been lingering for ages, and I suddenly am fully awake in my dreams. It's always a dark realm with wood trails and trees that haunt with their naked branches. The wind is barely there, yet somewhere in between, I'm feeling as if the air is also within me. It's hard to tell and hard to explain, as I'm pushing myself through the paths that are paved with what looks like small footsteps before me. And then out of nowhere, I see her, and I'm mesmerized. She's there, right in front of me, with her back to me. her long black hair just almost there for me to grasp. As I reach out, she moves, and I miss her presence as I chase and she's running. But the wind picks up, and the moon appears where I'm suddenly feeling the hard pressure of shifting inside my chest. No, not now. And I fall to the ground, heaving as my chest tears apart, my flesh ripping from my bones, bloody vessels of my insides emerging, and I hear her scream as I awaken in a sweaty mess. "Shit," I whispered as I turned to the clock on the wall. It read 4 a.m, always the same time. "Get your shit together, Everett," I told myself as I stood and walked to the bathroom, where I turned on the water to shower. Riker's return, the dream, and the worry of Frank and his family made my insides jumble to the point of no answer or freedom. The water did little release for me, and I felt the same sick feeling return as it did when I held the dying bodies of my parents. How could I get past this? Would the Royal Committee be able to help come up with a plan? The lingering feeling of a deadly ending couldn't be helped but extend its welcome to me. Looking up at the water, I let it wash over me, and suddenly I felt the first wave of emotions come through me. It wasn't normal for me to feel this unstable. Where would I go from here? The Royal Committee consisted of 6 members from the original royal descendant bloodline of Lycans. They had been the ones who decided when a male heir would join to take the place of their seat. They were all male, strong, alpha leaders who had seen everything, and their true mate beside them. I had grown up with their knowledge, and after my parents died, they took control over the Molly family honor until I was ready to take my seat. The following morning, when I walked into the hall of Molly Manor, the 6 committee members were seated in their thrones watching me as I entered. All had white hair, gentle hair that covered their handsome faces, and wore black fur around their broad shoulders. Dominic was the first to stand and welcomed me in. A towering 6'4", he was my father's best friend. He came and took me into his arms, holding me just long enough for me to feel his true emotions of seeing me again. "Everett, your presence makes this hall sing with glee," he said with a wink. "Your time is near, Everett. Your seat is waiting for you. You must now find your mate." This came from Percy as he stood and came to shake my hand. "The world is not going to wait for you, boy. Have you looked for her?" Josiah asked as he sat looking at me with a dark glare. He was the only one who blamed me for the death of my parents. "I've tried, Lord Josiah. I have had no luck." He smirked, and Grayson nudged him. He turned to look at me and stood, walking to me. Grayson towered over me by a few inches. "Your mate is your true soul connection. It is not to be taken lightly." "Yes, Lord Grayson." He gave me a hug and returned to his seat. Vance and Abraham both stood at the same time and came to me. Each one gave me a hug, and then Vance took my hand, squeezing it hard. "I know what your return today brings. Let us talk among ourselves with kindness. I hear your heart's ache." "Everett, sit down," Abraham said as he gestured me to sit in the center, as he went to take his seat at the front with the others. I watched the 6 of them and felt a deep sadness. At one point, my father had sat next to them and had been number 7. Now the chair that held his place was hidden, and I was yet to be invited. "What brings you here?" Dominic asked. "Riker's return." Vance leaned forward, his eyes glowing green with a heated glare. "The rogue's son returns after all. Have you seen him?" "Yes. He came to visit me yesterday and had quite a lot to say. He hasn't changed. I'm afraid that he intends to destroy everything the Royal Committee has worked on building." "Take him out," Josiah said with a sneer. "He doesn't deserve to carry the lineage of the Molly family. Because you didn't protect your father, neither do you." "Quiet," Grayson shouted. "The past has been done and dealt with. It was not Everett's fault for the demise of his parents. A father can birth a son, and yet a son can become the enemy of his life. We cannot hold this against Everett. It was not his doing, only Riker's." I lowered my head. "I await your order." Percy stood and leaned forward. "Riker needs to be taken out. If we continue to let him breathe, he will destroy everything we've set in time. It is not worth keeping him alive." "He's still a royal lineage. We cannot dispose of him," Grayson said. I could tell the committee were also at a loss of what to do. But then I heard the sound of heels clicking on the wooden floor, and I turned to find the 6 mates of the committee enter. Their stance, tall and provocative, proved why they were the true mates to these gentlemen. The black dresses they wore seemed to make the room vibrate with their every step. "There's a way," Sage said as she came to stand next to Grayson. "There's only one way." "And what is that?" Grayson asked. "The world is waiting for a new leader," Clara said as she came to Abraham and took his hand. "Darling, have you truly forgotten the one way to save us all?" Abraham looked at her with confusion. "My mind is blank, dearest." "All these alpha males in this room, and not one can find the solution to this problem," Willa said as she came to sit by Dominic. Ivory smiled as she took her seat by Josiah and touched his hand. "Come, darling. You must know the answer." Josiah looked at her and then shrugged. "Enlighten me." Blair walked to sit next to Percy and looked at me with her dark eyes. "I believe Lord Everett already knows the answer." "Does he?" Daphne asked as she came to sit beside Vance. Then she looked straight at me. "Do you?" I swallowed hard and I stood. My legs were unstable, but I knew I had to say something. I looked from each alpha male to their mates, and I took a deep breath. "The answer to this is to find my mate and take my father's place." Blair smiled and clapped her hands together. "The answer is that simple, gentlemen." Percy looked at her and then back at me. "And do you have a mate? Have you found her?" Shaking my head, I replied, "No. But dreams of her have been coming to me. Her face has yet to be revealed to me, but I know her scent." "How intoxicating," Willa said as she smiled. "I remembered when Dominic came to find me. It was such an interesting journey." "Find her, Lord Everett, and your question of what to do with the Riker will be answered. Harlow." He came again. This time, it was like a dark wave that washed over me with a stare that exhausted me to the core. I felt trapped, locked in this position where I couldn't run. I couldn't even look up at him. Just hearing his soft growls around me, gentle paddings of his footsteps that seemed to come at a snail's pace. It felt unsafe, yet I wanted to be there, and I wasn't sure why. All I knew was that this deep sense of belonging called out to me, and it left me wanting more. It was frightening and seductive at the same time, teasing all my senses, driving me insane with a need I had never felt before. When I woke, I was drenched in sweat, blankets twisted around my legs, and an ache inside my belly that was fighting to be freed. It had been happening since I celebrated my 34th birthday 6 months ago, and it hadn't stopped since. I was afraid to sleep, and during the day I found myself nodding off in corners. If anyone touched me by accident, I screamed, afraid of the things unknown. Today was no different. I woke up the same way. This time, though, it made me cry because I had no way of figuring out what was wrong with me. I had no one to turn to, and I was alone. Not knowing my heritage, not knowing anything from my childhood, I was already scarred inside and out. Why was this happening to me? Wasn't growing up as an orphan enough damage already? How much more hurt did I need to endure? The only place that gave me peace was the animal shelter where I worked. I went in during the hours that I didn't need to and stayed longer than necessary, sometimes even without pay. My boss, Nick, was always pushing me out, but I knew it was only because he cared for me. But I didn't want to go home, and I often hung out longer than expected. The reason why I even helped out with my best friend Camilla's cafe down the street. I was overworked, underpaid, and severely stressed. My once long and beautiful shining black hair was falling out, and I had dark circles underneath my eyes. Someone my age should be free and eager to explore life. When I walked into work, the lights were turned off, and the sound of the animals barking were louder than normal. I quickly turned the lights on, and a smile formed on my face as I called out to them. "Good morning, my beautiful friends!" We had 2 golden retrievers, 4 Labradors, 1 husky, and 4 cats that were currently looking for homes. I took the bowls and began pouring in water, bringing it to them. They hurried to the front and began drinking as I worked on putting their meals together. A while later, I heard the back door opened and Nick walked in. Nick was a little older than I was, and he was a handsome man with beautiful brown eyes and always had a smile on his face. We met when we both missed our connecting flight, literally running into each other just as they closed the door to board. We caught the next flight together, and Nick shared that he'd been wanting to open an animal shelter. I was lost, figuring out what to do with my life, and his dream inspired me. We had exchanged numbers, and when he made it happen, he called me. The rest was history. "Harlow, goodness, I'm in so much pain," Nick said as he walked in. His neck was slightly slanted to the left, and he had this uneven stance as he slowly moved in. I put down the food and walked to him, examining him. "What happened?" He made a face. I was too tired to sleep in a good position and just fell asleep at my desk. This is what happened. Can you crack my neck for me?" I laughed. "Are you crazy? I'd kill you if you trusted me to do that for you. You know, these hands can only break necks, not make it better. Just do it. Please. I feel like it's almost there, but it just needs a shove." Shaking my head, I replied, "No way." He grabbed my hands and pulled me toward him. "Save me!" I made a face, and he slightly turned around. I rolled my eyes and pulled a chair for him to sit. I took a deep breath and put my hands on him. "Seriously, Nick, if you die, I'm not responsible. Just do it. I'm in so much pain. There's doctors for these kind of things. You're the only doctor I need. Stop talking and get working." I took a deep breath and tried to remember what I saw doctors did. I put my hands around his neck and calculated. Okay, if he's leaning to the left, then it meant he couldn't bring it back to the right. So if I just shifted it back to the right, it would be okay. My nerves were getting the best of me, but I placed my hands on his neck and closed my eyes, making a quick turn of his neck. I heard a crack, and he cried out, falling over and down to the floor. I gasped and jumped. "Oh, Lord, did I kill him? Did I accidentally kill him?" He wasn't moving, and I began to shake. "Nick? Nick? Nick!" I cried as I dropped down and turned him over. A big smile was on his face as he sat up and planted a kiss on my cheek. I slapped his shoulder as I shoved him and stood up. "You jackass! You scared me! I thought I killed you!" He stood and rolled his neck a bit, laughing. "Were you worried about missing me?" "Oh, God, that feels so much better. I knew you could do it." "I was ready to rob you of everything," I joked. He touched his heart and made a face. "That hurt me, Harlow." "Shut up." I laughed and gave him a hug. "I'm glad you're okay." I pulled away and finished putting the food in the bowls. "We need to find these guys new homes. Some of them have been here for too long. I feel bad for them. They must be tired of having to look at us." Nick smiled and shrugged. "I don't know. If I had to look at you every day, I'd be happy." I turned around to him. "You do look at me every day. That's why I'm happy." The door opened and my best friend Camilla walked in with a bag from her cafe and a coffee cup. Camilla was a beautiful, blunt woman with short black hair that made her look like a model. She had been the only person who I trusted with my life, and although she was someone who tended to do things her own way, she had a purpose in it. Her cafe was down the street, and every morning she'd bring me something to munch on before heading to open her store. "Morning, my beautiful girl," Camilla said as she dropped the bag on the counter. She handed me the cup of coffee and gave me a hug. "I want you to drink this and give me your honest opinion. I'm trying a new dose of coffee flavor." I felt excited as I took it from her, the warmth filling my hands. I inhaled the scent, and it had a berry smell. I sipped it, let it linger, and then took a longer drink. I was pleasantly surprised. This is better than how it smells. I thought it would taste sweet, but it's actually not. I like it." "Really?" Camilla asked, her eyes bright with excitement. "You're the first person to try it. Think of a name for me." I held the cup, drank it again, and let it sink in. I felt the heated liquid swim around me, and then I opened my eyes. "How about lingering berry? It does leave you with an aftertaste that seems to make you want more." Camilla opened her mouth in an O and clapped her hands together. "I knew you could make me proud." "Make you proud how?" Nick asked as he joined us. He reached out and grabbed the cup from my hands and took a sip. He made a face and handed it back to me. "What the hell is this?" "Obviously not for male customers," I said as I laughed. I watched as Camilla's eyes danced between me and Nick, but I ignored it. "I like it." She beamed. "That's what matters. I have to go. I have a blueberry muffin in there for you." "And me?" Nick asked. "You can starve," Camilla joked. "See you later for dinner?" "Definitely. I'll swing by when I close here." She waved me goodbye and left as I took another sip of lingering berry. It was going to be a good day after all. When I entered Camilla's cafe, Delectable, I found her wiping the table and an apron around her waist. I walked behind the counter, put on an apron myself, and came out to extend my hand to her. "Let me do this. You can go take care of the customers." She smiled and handed it to me as I took over, wiping the tables down. I had just finished wiping down too when the door opened, and I heard heavy footsteps come in. I assumed Camilla was behind the counter and didn't greet whoever had walked in. A moment later, the voice spoke, and I jumped. Do I need to announce myself before I can get service? I turned around, and a handsome, tall man with shoulder-length hair stood there, wearing all black. His eyes were piercing, gazing into my soul, pulling me toward him. He had this dark alpha sense that made me feel unstable on my feet as I watched him move toward me. I'm so sorry. I assumed Camilla was there. What can I do for you? I asked as I walked around the table toward the front. It was then that he came to meet me halfway and leaned into me. I drew back from him and nearly tripped as he reached out to grab my arm. The moment he touched me, a vibrant light entered my mind and my head began to throb. I gasped and pulled back immediately as he stepped forward to hold me again. In the heat of the moment, I lost my balance and his arms collected me inside to break my fall. He turned so he would land on the ground, and I ended on top of him. I heard him grunt as he landed, and my hands came to touch upon a hard, steeled, muscled chest. The gaze that looked into my eyes stole my breath, and I couldn't remember where I'd seen those pair of eyes before. It was then that Camilla entered and stared at us with a confused look on her face. Am I interrupting something?" she asked. I quickly pushed off him to stand as he cleared his throat and stood with a smooth movement. "It was an accident. I am so sorry, sir." I blushed and walked around to the back as he came forward and Camilla took his order. I was breathing heavily as my hands reached for my cheeks. They were blaring hot, and I was beginning to sweat. "What the hell, Harlow? A man like him shouldn't set you off this way." I peeked out at the front and saw his hands handing over some bills to pay for his order, and then suddenly he backed up and peered at me from where he stood. I felt like a thief as I pulled away and ran into the shelf where Camilla stored her empty canisters. Everything fell, a collision so loud that it felt like it rocked the entire earth. "Shit," I whispered as I covered my face with my hands. Camilla rushed back and nearly tripped over the mess on the floor. "Are you okay?" I turned my back to her and heard her laugh as she returned to the front. I heard some chattering and she giggled. Then the door dinged as she left, and I let out the breath I'd been holding. Camilla came to me shortly after and bent down to pick up the items. I helped her and she gave me a smile. "Caught ya? You like him, don't ya?" "Man, you were like a little schoolgirl with those blushing cheeks of yours," she said. I handed her the cans and stood up. "I do not like him," says the woman who was caught on top of him. "Whatever," I said as she stood and stacked the items on the back of the shelf. "He just caught me off guard is all." Camilla smiled and then her tone became serious. "Speaking of being caught off guard, what's the deal with Nick?" Shrugging, I asked, "What about Nick? I mean, isn't he a little too close for comfort? This morning he drank from the same cup as you, like you're literally that close enough to have that sort of relationship." "He's kind." "He's scary," she said with a frown. "I mean, come on, Harlow. The man is ready to sleep with you if you just say so. Every single time I'm in his store, he's looking at you like I'm going to steal you away. Did it ever occur to you that he likes you?" I shook my head. "Nick and I are not like that. He's just a very good and very kind friend." "Does he know that?" Trapped inside a dark cave, the howling wind outside was threatening my safety as I tried to figure out how to get home. The fire that was dying before me was no longer warm and inviting. It was now calling out to the demons and ghouls that were lingering outside. I heard a howl outside like an animal was prowling for its partner, almost in pain, searching and praying to be found. I listened, and a deep longing filled me, making my eyes fill up with tears. Why did it sound so sad? Why did it call out to me? Taking several steps, I walked to the opening of the cave and listened. The yearning and wailing seemed to be speaking my name, and I felt drawn to it. As I lifted my foot to step outside, strong arms grabbed me from behind and held me close. "Don't go," the voice whispered. It was dark, heavily drenched with an exotic tone that made my heart flutter deeply inside. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm here to keep you safe. Trust me, don't go." I struggled to turn around to look at him, but he held me in place, and then I felt him inhale my scent. His breath tickled my flesh, and I sucked in a deep breath. Who was this man? And why did his embrace feel so familiar? Why did I suddenly feel safe? I heard the wailing outside again, and my eyes fluttered open. His arms tightened around me, holding me against him, and I felt the warmth fill me. "Trust me, Harlow. Don't go." I listened to his voice, and I recognized it. I turned around suddenly and found myself staring into the deep dark eyes of the man I'd met at the cafe. and when he blew a kiss toward me, the wind woke me up. I was again sleeping in a strange position with the blankets twisted around my legs. He knew my name. Who was he? Why did he make me feel safe? Everett. The dream came again. This time I found her inside a dark cave, listening to the sound of a wailing that threatened her safety. It was meant for her to hear, to lure her to take what belonged to me. But I now knew something I didn't before. I knew who she was. I saw her face. The moment I walked into the cafe, her scent tickled my senses, and I became heightened like never before. I had this vast and deep protection inside me that kicked in. She was it. She was my mate, my one and true soul connection, my partner. She was mine. When I woke, I felt eager to find her again, and when I entered the cafe, it was quiet. The morning rush had just passed, and the young woman who had serviced me yesterday at the counter was there again. She was a cute, perky young woman and had an honest smile. "Hello again. What would you like today?" she asked as she wiped her hands on a cloth. I looked around the cafe and then moved in for the kill. "I need a favor." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, that's new for me to hear. What can I do?" I smiled and pulled out my card from my pocket. I handed it to her. "This is my information. I'd like you to give this to the young woman who was in here with you yesterday. I believe you know who I'm talking about." She blushed and then smiled widely. "I do, but she's my best friend, and before I can do that, you have to go through my screening process." Laughing, I crossed my arms. "Go ahead." I was expecting nothing less. She tucked the card into her apron pocket. Name, occupation, purpose, and age. I leaned forward on the counter, lowering my voice. Everett Molly, business owner, potential boyfriend, 45. When she extended her hand to me, I took it. "Hello, Everett Molly. I'm Camilla. I like your resume, but I don't make the final decisions. I'll pass along your message, and if you get a call, consider yourself lucky." "Will you put in a good word for me?" I asked with a wink. She cocked her head to the side. "I just might. If you buy something today, I'll get all the muffins you have." The fight had begun with Riker, and I knew it was coming when I saw his appearance after being absent for so long. He wasn't going to go away without a battle, and it meant blood and an ugly war. He wanted to feed on humans, and he wanted to rule over the Molly honor. I didn't have much time, and I had to work fast. Without a mate by my side, I wouldn't be allowed to sit on the seat my father once sat on. I had to rely on the words of Camilla and hope that her friend would call me. It had been an entire day, and I heard nothing. Feeling defeated, I decided to return to the cafe. This time when I arrived, it was busy, and Camilla was serving customers. But to my surprise, she was there wiping the tables in the back. Camilla locked eyes with me, but I ignored the hated gaze she threw my way. I walked to where she was and watched her. She wore jeans that hugged her legs and a black top that had a small tear on the bottom. Her black hair was braided down her back, and her fragrance filled my senses with a deep longing that made me come alive. "You're a hard woman to get hold of." She stopped and turned round, gazing at me with shock. I walked toward her, and she straightened as I reached her. "Didn't your friend give you my number?" She frowned. "What?" I turned to Camilla and saw her smiling. I turned back to her and crossed my arms. "Did your friend give you my number?" Shaking her head, she replied, "No, she didn't. Why would she?" That was awkward, I thought, as I tried to recover smoothly. "Did you just come to work?" Laughing, she replied, "I don't even work here." I felt like an idiot. "What?" She smiled and tossed the towel over her shoulder. "What do you want?" I moved in, and I saw her take a few steps back. The fire that was boiling inside me was something I never felt before. The moment she inhaled, I sucked in her breath and felt as if I had fallen down a dark hole. This was all new to me, feeling so out of control. I liked it. Her eyes were wide and her lips were slightly ajar. She was like an intoxicating drug to me. I wanted her. "I want you," I whispered. "I'm not yours," she replied boldly back. "If you're not going to order anything, I suggest you leave the premises." "I can, as long as you come with me." The tension was too much for me, and I was going to break down to my knees. How can this be? I didn't even know her, and yet here I was pleading her to be with me. Everything about her, from her scent to her eyes to the shape of her body, told me she was the one I'd been dreaming about. She'd filled my mind with her soul, and I felt alive when she gasped for breath. She was mine. Are you crazy? She asked. I'm getting there real fast. She started backing up to the private room behind the counter, and I followed. The darkness consumed us both, and the sound of the customers drowned out. I felt her heat and her slight gasping of breathing. Here, in the darkness, where it was quiet and smaller, I could smell her even better. It made me come alive in places I never knew existed. I felt the need to shift and an unbearable desire to taste her lips. I swallowed, my heart racing as I felt the first wave of sweat wash over me. What was happening to me? Who are you? She asked. When she reached the wall, I had nowhere to go. I closed the distance and placed both hands around her, keeping her in. I leaned in and inhaled her fragrance. It filled my soul with life, and I felt my vision come into complete focus. I could see every inch of the strand of her hair to the tiny freckles across her skin. I lowered myself to her ear. I could read her mind, and I saw the very dream that haunted her. Trust me, Harlow. Don't go. I repeated the exact words from her dream. She gasped and put her hands on my chest, her lips ajar with shock. How? You. It's you. Harlow. Those words, the same exact ones I had heard in my dreams, were now being whispered to me. I caught my breath in my throat, and I felt the fear escalate through my body. What was going on? My hands were on his chest, feeling his heartbeat across my palm, and it brought a strange sensation to me. He was exotic to look at, and I couldn't believe he was gazing at me as if I was the only one. Who are you? I whispered. How do you know my name? He reached out and touched my cheek gently, the touch making my body react in a way that made my cheeks blush. I've always been close by. You've been dreaming of me, haven't you? I felt the tears come to my eyes as he spoke. It was so gentle, and I felt safe. I'd never had that before, and I didn't know what to do with it. I recovered from my initial shock and pushed him away. I gathered together my senses and wiped my eyes. Clearing my throat, I looked at him. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing. I just want to talk. You never called me. I didn't know I was supposed to. I didn't give her your number, Camilla said as she walked into the room. I don't trust you enough. I knew you'd be back. He smiled and crossed his arms. I can see you are safely protected. I always am by Camilla. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you want to talk to me about. We're strangers, I said. That's the whole point, isn't it? To no longer be strangers. Let us talk, Harlow. I promise I don't bite. Unless you ask me to. I felt my heart skip a beat at what he said. I looked at Camilla, who shrugged. I cleared my throat and removed the apron from my waist. Okay, let's go sit out there in the front. You don't mind, do you? Anywhere is fine. I walked out and he followed me to an empty table. As we sat, Camilla came back to the front to service the customers. As he sat in the light, I saw that he was more handsome than I gave him credit for. His hair looked healthier than mine, and a hint of envy entered me. He looked so well put together, while I must have appeared as a complete mess. I'm Everett Molly, he said as he laced his fingers together. I came earlier to give my information to Camilla so you could call me. We both know how that went. What can I do for you, Everett? He leaned forward. What happens when a man seeks a woman? I laughed and tucked a strand behind my ear. What? Don't tell me you're interested in me. Everett stared at me and then he shrugged. Is it hard to believe? Yes, I said as I almost laughed. Look at you and then look at me. I am looking at you, he said with a serious tone, and I like what I see. Is that hard to believe? Before I could answer, the door opened and Nick came in holding my purse, making me stand up with shock, not believing that I'd left my purse and not noticed. Nick, I said. You left this behind, he said as he came to me and handed it to me. Then his eyes roamed to where Everett sat, and he turned to gaze at me. Are you on a date? Everett and I answered at the same time. He said yes, and I said no. I looked at him with shock, and he gazed at Nick. What? I asked. I turned to Nick. Forget him. Thank you for bringing me my purse. I didn't even realize that I had left it behind. He took my elbow and moved me a few inches away from the table. Are you okay? You've been a little out of it since you arrived this morning. I lowered my head, thinking back to the dream I'd had and how it had affected me. I nodded and looked up at him. I'm fine. Thank you. Nick, is it? Everett said as he stood up. Would you kindly return her to me, please? I'm not done with her yet, and we've so much to discuss. And Nick took my hand suddenly and shook his head. What is your purpose with Harlow anyways? Nick! Camilla shouted from the front. Come here! I need you! Go on, I said as I removed my hand from his. He looked at me and then did as I had asked of him. As he walked away, I came back to sit down, and Everett took a seat across from me. Is he a concern I need to be aware of? Everett asked. Frowning, I asked, What do you mean? If I am to pursue you, is he someone I need to kick to the corner? Laughing, I replied, First of all, who said I'm going to allow you to pursue me? And second, there's no kicking needed because Nick is just a friend. Does he know that? I blinked and pushed the question away. Look, I'm flattered that you want to date me, but I'm sorry. You're too much for me, and I'm not the kind of girl you would want to bring home to your parents. My past would frighten you. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, and he leaned forward. My parents are gone, and nothing can frighten me. I'm a lot stronger than you think. Why don't you try me on for size? I have everything a man has, probably more, and I promise you that nothing will happen if you don't want it. I'm intoxicated by you, Harlow. Let me figure out where this would take me. I've never felt this before, and shouldn't we explore the things we're afraid to, as it may give us the answer we seek? I watched as his eyes darted back and forth, and I wanted to run, but I stayed glued to my seat. No one has ever said anything like that to me before. In fact, are you even human? You sound out of this world. I'm a dark tale, but I promise if you give me a chance, I can make the stars shine for you. He dug into his pockets and handed me a card with his number on it. Call me. I want to know you better, Harlow. Believe me, I don't do this at all. I never have to chase down someone before. This is all new to me. I like it. And I like you. No strings attached. Just let me take you out to dinner and explore a new segment of life with me. I promise you that you will like me and what I have to offer you. Why do you make it sound like a business transaction? Smiling, he replied, Because it is, isn't it? A give and take offer. He stood and extended his hand to me. I hesitated before I took it, and he brought my knuckles to his lips, kissing gently. The gesture made my heart flutter and my cheeks blushed. I'll be waiting for your call, Harlow. Don't let me down. Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 2 will be out shortly.
To be honest, I don't think about you. To be honest, I got better things to do. To be honest, I don't care that we're over. Been fine since you told me you don't love me anymore. To be honest, I like sleeping alone. Yeah, I'm totally okay on my own. I don't even need your arms around me. I don't need you to tell me it's gonna be alright, my love. You think I'm lying to myself, but the truth is I don't need you. 'Cause I'm one in a million, and that means I'll find a better you someday. To be honest, I don't miss you. To be honest, I don't think about her. Your new girlfriend, now she's your whole world. I don't mind you posting pictures. I could watch those photos 10 times. I swear I feel nothing at all. You think I'm lying to myself,